What's up, everybody? It's Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about Will Smith. The main point of this video is to do a Q&A. You guys had a ton of comments and questions on the last video I did. This was not really planned. It was kind of impromptu, so there may not be that many people on live. So I'm going to answer some of the questions from the comments from the video I did yesterday. And then, of course, the most important answers will be, and the most important questions will be from the live chat in today's video. That's really what I want to focus on. We are going to take a second in the beginning and talk about Will Smith's response and apology to Chris Rock and to everybody else. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and then we will go through some of the major objections and questions and things people wanted to know, legally speaking, about battery, about assault, about what happened. So if you're new just from the last Will Smith video, please make sure you subscribe to our page so you can get in the discussion, know when the live videos will be. We do a lot of Q&As where I just answer questions that people have in the live chat. So make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you can get alerted whenever we do this. Because for those of you who are new and don't know this channel, I am a full-time practicing lawyer. I handle mostly personal injury and criminal defense. I'm a trial lawyer. That's mostly what I do. So when I have little pockets of time like this and 30 minutes here to answer questions, I try to jump on and do that. They're not always planned. So sometimes they will just pop up on your alerts. And if you're available, great, jump in, join the discussion. If you're not, no big deal. You can catch the next one. So hit that subscribe button and like the video if you're interested in these videos. So first things first, let's get to Will Smith's response and apology. Okay. It's not letting me share here. Well, it's not that exciting anyways. It's just words on a screen. So let's hear what Will Smith had to say. Violence in all of its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are part of the job. But a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. So he's apologizing, calling it poisonous and destructive, but also giving an excuse and a reason why he did it. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I am embarrassed and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness. I would also like to apologize to the Academy, the producers of the show, all the attendees, and everyone watching around the world. I would like to apologize to the Williams family and my King Richard family. I deeply regret that my behavior has stained what has been an otherwise gorgeous journey for us all. Sorry, for all of us. I am a work in progress. Sincerely, Will. Okay? So what we call that in the criminal world, legally speaking, is an admission of guilt. Okay? I think we all know by now Will Smith's not going to get arrested. He's not going to get charged with a crime. But if he was, this would be an admission of guilt. Additionally, interestingly enough, Jada Pinkett Smith also took to Instagram and said, "This is a season for healing, and I'm here for it." So again, they're acknowledging a wrong was done. They're calling it destructive and poisonous. They did give an excuse, which holds it back a little bit more, but he did apologize publicly and admitted what he did was wrong. So I think we can all agree that Will Smith committed the crime of battery, right? And I think we can all agree that he knows it, Chris Rock knows it, everybody watching knows it. We had a lot of discussion about that on the last video, and most of you correctly posted in the chat that you thought this was battery. By the letter of the law, it's battery. I have had clients charged with battery for putting their hand over an employee's mouth when the employee did not want them to, and the client was trying to help them because they were cursing and going to get fired, so they covered up their mouth real quick. Employee ended up complaining, and my client got arrested for battery. Now, we ended up working out a deal, getting her PTI and getting the charges dropped after community service, but she was arrested and charged with battery, and we had to then do an entire sealing and expunction process to get that off her record. She was a nurse manager, had a great career, and continued on with that career because all the charges were dropped. But people do get prosecuted for simple battery for less than what Will Smith did in front of everybody. He was intending to strike and hurt Chris Rock, at least in my opinion. You guys can let me know if you agree or disagree. And if you'd like to, you can go ahead and throw your questions in the chat, and I'm going to scroll through and get to the questions at the end. So I think we all kind of know where we stand legally speaking as far as what Will Smith did and whether or not it applies differently to other people in everyday life, because it does. And really, it's not fair. I think that's something we learned from this, but we also already know life's not fair, right? I mean, we've talked a lot about that on this channel. So let's talk about the two major legal questions and disputes that kind of were coming through the comments on that last video. First, it was that California cannot prosecute criminals unless the victim is involved and the victim okays or wants to press charges. That's number one. Okay, that's what people were saying to me. And if you listen to my videos, I usually will stick to different jurisdictions have different rules, and I will explain it depending on the jurisdiction if it's in. If it's in a jurisdiction where you absolutely have to have the victim's involvement to prosecute, then obviously if Chris Rock doesn't want to prosecute, you can't. But most jurisdictions, and I'm not sure anyone's right about California because I've actually done some digging, and I'm positive, I should say, that there are certain crimes California absolutely can pursue with or without victim involvement, because the people of the state and the people of the government don't just represent one victim. They are allowed to make decisions regardless of what an individual victim wants if they are going to protect society as a whole, if they are going to protect the people in their jurisdiction and their state. So they have a different protection and a different motive than just protecting that one victim. When I have a case where somebody's injured, I'm protecting that one victim. I'm representing that one victim most of the time. That is different than the prosecution in a state case or a federal case. It can affect interstate commerce or intrastate commerce when talking about the federal government. So if people wanted to debate me and really fight me and hammer me and ask me, did you even really go to law school? Yes, I did. I went to law school. I graduated from law school. I am a lawyer, been a lawyer. So people just like to, try to grind my gears there with some of those comments, and I try to respond as politely and gracefully as I possibly can, because they are absolute truth when they make these posts that are incorrect. And I just like to have the discourse. I don't mind disagreeing. I actually like disagreeing. I think it breeds good conversation and people can learn when they disagree. The second thing that was vehemently disagreed with is that words are never an excuse for battery. Ever, ever, ever. No state, no jurisdiction would they ever allow words to be an excuse or justification for battery. And that is just wrong. Now, in California, where this happened, words are not a defense to battery. Words are not an excuse for battery. But there are jurisdictions like Georgia, for instance, and even Florida to a certain extent, where words can be an excuse, a justification, or a defense. Okay? So track with me here. There's one that's obvious, and that's fighting words. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to punch you. I'm going to injure you. You can then respond to defend yourself. And words, if they are combined with action to give you a reasonable fear, can be enough. But to take it a step further, in Georgia, they actually say that opprobrious words, which is basically disparaging words or criticizing or scorning someone, can actually rise to a level to be a defense of simple battery, which is what this is, or simple assault. Now, not always, and there's some differing case law as to what actually rises to that level, and we don't need to dig into that right here. But it's more than just, or different than just fighting words. And that exists. And there are some jurisdictions like that. And no, it would not apply to this specific case. And I am not prosecuting Will Smith in California under the California Penal Code. What this YouTube channel is a discussion. It's a public policy discussion between all of you, the viewers. It's a public discussion. It's a public forum. And what I want to know, what I learned so much from all you about, is what would potential jurors think if that was the law in their land? I mean, a ton of you are not even from America. So all of this is just kind of a learning experience in talking and thinking through this stuff. And what I wanted to know in that video is, if this happened in a place where words could be a justification for a simple battery like this, do you think it would have rose to that level? Most of you said no. And that was the discussion, and that was the purpose. And I would say 99.9% of the viewers and commenters got that. But there were just a couple that really kind of poked me the wrong way. And I wanted to just respond and explain that different jurisdictions, different states, different countries have different rules. And the conversation really is about Was this enough? Was this an okay reaction, or should this be a battery? And I think we got a lot of good conversation on that video. And it was really fun to respond to a lot of the comments. I got to some of them. I couldn't get to all of them, which is why I also wanted to follow up and do this video so I could answer the questions that are more in depth. Sometimes people ask me questions that need more than just a typed out one-line explanation. So that's why I wanted to do this. And actually, in California, words can be a defense. If, like I said, they're fighting words combined with the direct threat of injury, then you can respond with a battery or certain force. So it's not even absolute that in California words can never be a defense, because never, always are important words and should only be used when they're appropriate, in my opinion, because words are important and definitions are important. So I'm about to get to your questions, but there was one more thing I wanted to point out. I can't remember what it was. All right. So if you're new to our channel, this is the portion of the videos where I jump into the comments. I answer as many questions as I possibly can. So if any of you have questions about this Will Smith case, get in the comments, ask me now. And because I really love answering the questions. I love talking to you guys about it. I love getting your opinion, which is why I ask these questions. I try to be thought-provoking. I try to explain it to you, but also get – a lot of you disagree with me. A lot of you say, no, I see this totally different than you. Some of you agree with me. That's great. That's why we have these discussions. So if anybody wants to ask me if I'm a lawyer, if I went to law school, yes, I did. There's public record of all these things for lawyers. All right, let's get to the comments. Hello, Eric. Hello, Lit. Hello, Leather. Hello, Rayanne. So Louise Lanthier, can Will Smith be charged for assault? The answer to that is yes. He can be. He could be charged with assault. He could be charged with battery. Most of the time, the difference is actual physical touching, then it turns into battery, versus the threat of it, or swinging at somebody, or pump faking can be assault. That's why it's assault with a deadly weapon sometimes when somebody shoots and misses, because they are still trying to injure them with the intent to injure them. Battery is when the touching actually occurs, and it's really in most states, in most jurisdictions, you see how I said most and not all. In most states and jurisdiction, it's just unwanted touching. You don't even have to intend to harm the person, and an injury does not even have to result from that touching for it to be simple battery. It's just unwanted physical contact. Hello, CCC from Sweden. Awesome. So Rayanne, true apologies have no excuses or justifications. A lot of people saying they're still just shocked by the whole thing. A lot of people saying I feel like somebody else wrote it. Critical Thinker 8 is saying, let's not forget he slapped a reporter years back. May not have been as hard. I don't remember that, but okay. Critical thinking is always appreciated here. Yeah, Jerry, I agree with you. And this is one of the big issues that people are kind of not talking about, is not just at award shows like this, but how about just stand-up comedians? I like self-deprecation. I like when people make fun of me. I think it's funny. I like making fun of people that I'm friends with, and they know how to take it. That's kind of a funny comedy to me. And I watch some of these comedians who pick on people in the crowds and make jokes, and it's pretty hilarious. But again, now if I'm at a comedy show with my wife and he makes fun of my wife, I'm going to get up and slap him. And if I do, I'm going to get arrested probably, or thrown out by security. But then you point to Will Smith and you're like, wait a second. People look at these celebrities, athletes, actors, whatever, singers, as, even though they shouldn't, as role models. And when you see Will Smith getting away with this, I do think it feels like it gives people a license to do things like this. And it sets a dangerous precedent, like you said. Aaron, do you think he regrets this deeply? So a lot of people are going to disagree with me here. I'm still not 100% convinced it was even real. Now, all of this aftermath and the apologies makes me think more and more it is real. I still think there's just a little part of me that just is very skeptical. I'm a skeptic with these things. That makes me think it was staged, because they've never gotten more publicity. People have never had as more eyes on it. Now, if I'm Will Smith, I don't really want this kind of publicity. I know they say no publicity is bad publicity. Is that what it is? Any publicity is good publicity. Whatever the saying is, more people are talking about Will Smith than ever. Now, most of it's negative, so you don't usually want that. But assuming that it's real, absolutely, I think he regrets it. And I think his words do say that. even though he's trying to, hold back a little bit and defend his action, saying because he was defending his wife because Chris Rock was making fun of her medical condition, I think he does regret it deeply. Chris should sue him. Leather apron in the journalism world I came from, we call that BS. A lot of people think that the apology was not authentic. So here we go. Dinner's ready. Oh, please, if you're part of the elite, nothing will happen anyway. Look at Alec Baldwin. Well, interestingly enough, Alec Baldwin is not going to get out of this unscathed, I don't think. Now, he's trying to get some legal protection from his contract and see if he can be shielded from any liability and paying any money. But his name's being dragged through the mud, and he's getting sued left and right, and they have not closed the criminal investigation on him. So he's not totally getting away with what happened. If anybody doesn't know what happened with the Alec Baldwin situation, he shot the videographer or the cinematographer on the set of a movie called Rust. We've done a bunch of videos on it. If you want a breakdown of that analysis, check out our page and subscribe to our page, and you can see those videos. But I do think there's no other way to look at this, but other than to say, I mean, it kind of, the closest parallel I can get is the Jussie Smollett with the original prosecutor who kind of made it go away, which that might not be over because we're going to get some double jeopardy arguments from Jussie Smollett probably. This kind of reminds me of that. Everybody knows this guy committed a crime and nobody's doing anything about it. And again, I can't say that I don't think some people are want the hammer brought down. I'm not saying Will Smith should go to prison. Normal people don't go to prison because of this. But, I mean, more than a public apology, in my opinion. I hope we see donations made to charity in Chris Rock's name or for domestic violence or things like that where people can really be helped out of this. I hope it turns into something good. I do think that's possible, and I do think that's something Will Smith could do. His PR team is probably telling him to do it right now. I hope he does because then some good comes from it. Slapping him on the wrist criminally, I don't really think does much. He doesn't have that type of job where having a criminal charge on your record does much. So I hope it turns into something like that where some donations to people that can do some good. All right, so here we go. Lay Deshane. Before the assault, there was an assault hidden under a joke. Okay, so this is another thing that was kind of said in the comments. Oh, you don't know about her alopecia. You don't understand. It was so mean. I don't condone the joke. I think it was rude. I think it was in bad form. I think you should never make fun of somebody's medical condition, although there is some evidence that maybe he didn't know it was a medical condition and he was purely just saying something about her shaved head. We have to realize what the purpose is. The actors that are there sitting at the tables know that this is something that could potentially happen. We call that inherent risk. And I really think that in this situation, first off, far worse have been told at these award shows as far as jokes go crossing lines. But I still think even if it was a bad joke, it was not an assault. By definition, legally, I'll just say. All right, let's see. Still seems like a publicity stunt. Dinner's ready says. Sherry Long, I just watched a video of Will making fun of and laughing at a bald man when he was a guest on Arsenio Hall. He laughed at CR's joke before the assault. I see him as a hypocrite. He should be charged. So I agree. There was kind of, if you go immediately after the joke, Will Smith is laughing, which again should tell you that even he knows this is not something that crosses that line to get into physical violence, whether or not his jurisdiction allows it. But then some people say he got a look from Jada, responded, and boom. And again, in situations where if Jada's life or safety was in danger, Will Smith could respond with physical action in defending her and stand in her shoes. But these words do not rise to that level, legally speaking. And again, if he made fun of a bald person, I don't know if you would call Will Smith a comedian. He's been in comedies. He's done comedy. And I mean, people have made G.I. Jane jokes as women with shaved heads since G.I. Jane came out. I don't think it is that crazy of a joke. I'm sure people have laughed at it, including Will Smith, probably Jada Pinkett Smith, Demi Moore, I'm sure, which is why the joke in and of itself with a reasonable person standard, when you're going to look at that joke, wouldn't just automatically be such a horrible thing. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Michelle. Absolutely. Canada laws are much different. I love your content and conversations. Thank you. Yeah, that's the whole point. It's fun. It's fun to kind of discuss these things and talk about different criminal justice systems and civil justice systems. It's fun. That's what YouTube is. Like, we're not putting on a real trial here. We're discussing different things. Thank you, Eric. Love having you here. So Critical Thinker 8, interesting. As a juror, I would take into consideration that Will slapped the reporter back. It's on YouTube. Also, of course, he was advised to get ahead of the cancel culture. So interesting. In trials here, sometimes prior bad acts can come in and sometimes they can't. It would depend on whether or not the judge felt like him slapping that reporter was similar enough to this slap as to whether or not it could even come into trial. Because propensity evidence, meaning just because somebody's done something in the past, does not mean they're guilty of doing it here, might not come in. Now, wouldn't matter in this case since we have video, and you can't really argue with video. Chris Rogers, unfortunately not. The question is, LOL, can this be used as a defense for future battery cases? The Will Smith defense, no. Just because somebody else did it and got away with it does not mean it's a defense for you, so do not try to use that. Robert Simpson, I went to Florida State University, a.k.a. the Harvard of the South. Now, I may be the only one that calls it that, but I'm a double grad from Florida State, undergrad and law school. Thank you, Gene B. Why focus on the slap and overlook the foul language, Kenor Spielman? So foul language and cursing is an interesting topic that we probably don't have time to fully dig into today, but a lot of that is cultural, where things that would have potentially been a crime in the past are totally okay culturally now. So his foul language was not a crime, and there's no crime I'm aware of. I'm not going to say absolutely, but there's no crime I'm aware of that saying that in an audience is criminal. Thank you, Cedric. Can't control your emotions sometimes, but you can control your physical actions. That's important. Any chance it was faked, Frog? I think there's at least a chance. So here's more people popping in. BSP, we've talked about this a little bit on Arsenio Hall, that Will Smith made a similar joke. Leather Apron, do you think our generation will finally stop singing the theme to Bel Air at every given moment? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think so. I hate that song now, your inner lawyer says. Kid Evil, do you think the written apology was just PR from his team, or did he write it? Probably a combination. I'm sure he had something to do with it. But I mean, I'm sure his PR team helped as well. Mr. Turn Up the Party, they have an open marriage, it's well known. Yes, this seems to be documented by them, by others on talk shows, writing, that their marriage is open. There's also some really crazy stories about their marriage that we can all agree the content yesterday, the memes, Twitter, Instagram was top notch. I mean, there were some hilarious things shown that I won't show on here in case anybody gets offended by them, but there were some really funny things going on. And a lot of people commented on his open marriage and about how certain things don't make him mad, but this made him mad. It just doesn't add up. Yeah, a lot of people saying, I wonder if it was staged, and doubting he wrote that apology. Yeah, Tyler, I kind of agree. If you're sitting in the front row with a known comedian, expect to get roasted. Something is going on in Will's spirit, and I hope God will repair what's broken in him. I agree. You're sitting there. If I'm sitting in front of Chris Rock, he doesn't know me. I expect him to make fun. And honestly, if he doesn't know me, he just looks at me. He's probably going to make fun of my hair. Might make fun of how my beard doesn't connect appropriately. Maybe my collar's messed up. I'm sure he's going to find something to make fun of with the way that I look. And that happens all the time. If you watch these comedy shows, if you've gone to them, if the husband looks older than the wife or vice versa, they might make a joke about, is this your mom? Or if the mom looks young, they might say, is this your sister? Whatever it means. People get made fun of on their looks from comedians. And again, People can say that's wrong, and I understand. I don't want anybody's feelings to ever get hurt or people to get angry or feel bad about themselves. But I think you should avoid a comedy show, or you should avoid sitting in the front row, potentially, if this is happening. Now, other people can respond and say, well, maybe he knew he was winning the award, and that's where they placed him because he was going to win this award, and he didn't have a choice. And at that point, it's fair, which is why I think it's totally fair for him to say that joke crossed the line and to get angry at Chris Rock and maybe say something or post on Instagram or post on Twitter saying Chris Rock crossed the line. Then Chris Rock would potentially be apologizing today. But what he did, no matter how you slice it, in my opinion, was wrong. And I saw a lot of people saying, oh, you're soft. You don't know. People say that about me in the streets or in my neighborhood. This is what happens. And people said, and I almost agree, go handle it backstage then. If that's how you want to handle it backstage, not in front of everyone where kids are watching, people are watching around the world and see this happen. That's not. And Will Smith, here's the point. All of those arguments and discussions go away when you read his apology, when he said it was poisonous and destructive behavior and not who he is and not what he wants. He's embarrassed by his actions. It's not indicative of the man that he is. That's the language that he used. Will Smith agrees that this was despicable and should not have happened. BSP, everyone's entitled to freedom of speech, but no one is entitled to invade someone's personal boundaries. Oh gosh, Reed. See, this is what I'm talking about. I hope nobody's gonna get offended by this. What did the police find when they dusted Chris Rock's chin? Fresh Prince. I mean, it had me dying yesterday. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Oh man. No way a publicity stunt, such a lazy comment. Okay. So here we go. If anybody wants to see him slapping that reporter, search YouTube Will Smith slaps kissing reporter and give us your opinion, please. Oh, you mean me? Watch it. My computer just reset, so now it's having trouble sharing. We'll see. Maybe we'll do that in a little bit. I don't think I'm gonna have time today, but maybe I will get to that. Chris Rock's a comedian. Come on now. Andrew said the reporter assaulted Will. I'll check that out later. Cyrus Cherry, the joke had nothing to do with her illness. The Oscars suck and need ratings. These people are our moral superiors, yet they defend Will. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say the joke had nothing to do with her illness. I would say it was not aimed at her illness. He wasn't like making fun of her for having the illness. And I just, we're talking about beautiful women with shaved head playing in, I mean, some people would call it an iconic part in a movie. That would be like me saying, you know, don't say, and I'm going to let something out of the bag here. I've been binge watching The Last Kingdom on Netflix, which is like a Viking show. It's one of my favorite. It would be like me getting offended because somebody told me that I looked like Uchid of Bebbanborough because I have long hair and I couldn't cut my hair because of a medical condition. You know, I mean, I do think that it's okay that she was offended and Will Smith could say something and come out to her defense, but I don't think people are trying to equate it with, you know, that he made fun of her for that condition. And I don't think it was quite there. But again, that's something I'm fine if we disagree with. I'm totally fine if we disagree about that, and people can let me know respectfully, hopefully, if they disagree with me. John Franks, thank you. If you subscribe, let me know, because we do put our new subscribers on a list every month, and we try to send out some prizes like gift cards. We have merch. We'll post our merch link in the chat or in the description, because I don't know if my social media marketer is watching this right now. If she is, she'll post the merch link in the chat. It's really cool stuff. If you want to wear it, obviously don't have to, don't feel like you need to, but feel like you need to subscribe, because you do need to subscribe. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, Kid Evil, thank you. In the beginning, when I had a brain fart and I couldn't remember what I wanted to say, this is what I wanted to say. If Chris Rock punched him back, would that be self-defense? So for any of you that followed along with the Curtis Reeves trial, which was a guy in my backyard here in Tampa who shot and killed a man after the man leaned over the seat, cussed at him, grabbed his popcorn, threw it at him, and potentially it was arguable, but the jury, I guess, found, because they found self-defense and he was not guilty, that the man raised his hand. The man did not even punch him. Maybe the jury believed they threw something at him like a cell phone, but Curtis Reeves shot him dead because of words and actions. So taking that to this step, Will Smith is much bigger and stronger potentially than Chris Rock, has some training in fighting. Ali, people, this is some stuff I've seen on the internet. So if Chris Rock had a gun and pulled it and shot Will Smith, I'll at least say in Florida, under their stand your ground and self-defense laws, it's pretty arguable, and it would be a jury question as to whether or not he was justified in shooting Will Smith on the stage. Now, that's taking it way too far. I'm not condoning that. I'm not saying I wish that would happen. I am only using that as argumentation to show this is why we don't want things like this to happen. This is why we don't want people, grown men, walking on stage slapping another grown man in the face. We also saw it with, I can't remember the guy's name, but the self-defense video in Texas, where one guy pulls out a gun, the other guy comes up to him, gets in his face, maybe tries to grab the gun, and the guy shoots him. Actions and words can give rise to self-defense that may seem to us as way above and beyond what's reasonable, way above and beyond the fear you should have had. But if a larger man has come up to you out of nowhere because you made a joke and slapped you in the face, if he comes back again and now it's a fist, I heard some people talking like Chris Rock could have got a brain injury or serious bodily injury. Well, there is some medical testimony by experts, now whether or not you agree with it, I don't know, that a slap can cause serious bodily injury, especially if you're susceptible to it, but a punch definitely can. So if he rears back with a punch, it's reasonable that Chris Rock is going to think now he's going to punch me because he just slapped me. If Will Smith's yelling at him from the table, he's not in reasonable fear. So again, this is just for discussion purposes. This is why we don't want violence to ever get started, because that instigator could instigate something that grows and becomes worse and worse. No, B-Beam, that is not a way to get on the screen, he said, go Gators. Yeah, Kid Evil, I see you've made that comment a couple times. I'm a little behind in the chat, but I'm getting there. Mr. Turn Up the Party, if he would have slapped you, would you have sued? No. Or would you have swung back? More likely to swing back than to sue. It probably would have been more like a two-hand shove to try to get him away from me. I'm not usually trying to get into a fight, especially somebody that's a lot bigger than me, which Chris Rock seems a lot smaller than Will Smith, but probably a two-handed shove. I might have, if it would have really pissed me off, I might have been like, security, get him out of here. Chris Rock was probably in shock, but I would have probably tried to do things like that, not to like embarrass him, but get him out of here, show that there's some repercussion, get him thrown out of the building, maybe make a stink about it. I'm definitely not suing another man for slapping me in the face like this, unless there was some kind of serious injury. If I got seriously injured from it, then maybe. Yeah, Tammy's saying I would think it was a compliment to say you could be G.I. Jane. Andrew, he did make a public apology. We read it at the beginning of this video where he called his actions poisonous and destructive. Apologized to Chris, apologized to the Williams family, apologized to everybody. He did say, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too far and I reacted emotionally. So he did kind of give a qualification for the apology, but he did apologize. Omar, Love and Craft, is that a hate crime? No, was not done because of the color of his skin or any protected class reason. All right. Beth from Denmark. Hey, Peter, thanks for the super channel. Thank you. Legal-minded friends, Karen Cole. How could police press charges in private property unless the victim wants to charge? But if domestic abuse, police can charge without the victim pressing charges. So I don't know what you mean by press charges in private property. There are lots of different ways that law enforcement or the state attorney's office really can press charges. There has to be a nexus to public protection or public policy, or they're protecting the public, they're protecting the people that they represent. And it can be in the form of, if the government gets defrauded out of money, or people that are citizens are in danger or injured or hurt or something done to them, stolen from them, then they have the right to in most jurisdictions. Many jurisdictions have separate rules for domestic violence, that because that situation arises so much where the partner does not want to press charges for their own protection. We talked a little bit about this in the Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie situation. For their protection, somebody has to get arrested, and that's how it is in Florida sometimes, is somebody's got to get arrested and go to jail, and it sucks and it's horrible, and it makes people regret maybe calling the cops when nothing serious actually happened. But we have to protect people, and that's what the police are there for. So sometimes it can happen, and there are different rules in place a lot of times in a lot of jurisdictions for domestic violence. Hello from New York. Tiffany Pollard's interview was nuts. She said she was proud of Smith. A lot of people were coming out saying that, even on YouTube on our last video. And even Will Smith is not with you guys. I mean, nobody should really condone this, in my opinion, but people are going to people. And this is not like a team Will Smith or team Chris Rock, because honestly, before last night, I'm team Will Smith. I like a lot more Will Smith's movies and music and shows than anything Chris Rock's ever done personally. Leslie Watkins, Chris Rock isn't funny, though. I think he's funny, but I would be more team Will Smith, even though not in this situation. I think he was wrong. Yeah, I saw this. Marlene, compare Chris Rock's joke to Ricky Gervais, the Golden Globes. He skewered Hollywood stars with their past relationship. Yeah, no, I agree. There's been much worse, as I mentioned early in the video. All right, hey, just got a text from Rick Escobar, who was Curtis Reeves, the aforementioned defendant's lawyer, about hopefully setting up the interview tomorrow. He said it on TV, pretty sure that's an FCC violation. So again, this is one of the things that really is difficult to dig into the nuance, but I think it was cut from TV and bleeped, and where it came out was on a Japanese channel. I'm not positive about any of that, though. So again, this is a discussion we maybe could have at another time. Cyrus, weird he didn't apologize to Chris or the 15 people that actually watched the Oscars. He did apologize to Chris afterwards in an Instagram post. Specifically said, I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. Mr. Turn Up the Party, this is why I don't go to comedy shows and sit in the audience. That's fine, and that's your prerogative. Absolutely. All right, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I generally agree with this, Chris Rogers, but again, it's their prerogative to be serious. People are too serious, learn to laugh at yourself. Not a lot of questions, a lot of comments here. People saying they think it was staged or not. He has anger management issues. Let's see if there are any other questions here. We're past 30 minutes, so I'm about to have to sign off here. So Scout Inquirer, hi, I have a question. If Chris did press charges, what would the charges be? Could there be jail time, community service? So civil charges that you press wouldn't get jail time. You could sue him for battery or assault, which is an intentional tort, for damages, medical bills, emotional distress, pain and suffering. That's what he would do as far as civil charges. Criminal charges, it would be something like simple battery, which in most states is less than a year of jail time and $1,000 to $5,000 in fines. Most likely doesn't bring jail time with it. All right. Wow, there's a lot of chats in here. I've been a licensed stylist for over 30 years, and alopecia is not a life-threatening disease. He wouldn't do that to Dave Chappelle or Mike Epps. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about how serious it is, and you don't want to belittle something that somebody's going through physically and they can't control, which is why I think Chris Rock would never have done it. I could be wrong, but I mean, my guess is he didn't know. So Andrew Henley, I talked in the beginning. I did represent somebody one time that put her hand over an employee's mouth to try to stop them from cussing and getting fired. Employee ended up calling the cops on them, pressing charges, and they were charged with a simple battery. We were able to get it taken care of for the most part with community service and paying some fines. But we had to go through an entire process. She had to pay me to do it. Then we had to go through a second process of sealing and expunging that so it would come off of her record, because an arrest for that is still on your record in Florida unless you get it sealed or expunged, even if the charges are dismissed. So yes, I have handled a case like this, and it sucks because, you know, it only happens to some people. Yeah, NBA Montev, y'all sports Chris, y'all sporting bullying too. I don't think anybody's sporting bullying here. And I don't really think there's that many people supporting Chris. They're just saying Will Smith took it too far. And actually, I've said that, you know, anytime you talk about people's appearance, it's usually not a good joke. But if you put yourself in that situation, it's not like a schoolyard. You know, you're going to a comedy show. I would expect to get made fun of personally. All right, we've got about 3 more minutes until I got to sign off here. Yeah, a lot of people commenting that there's a video of him making bald jokes about him slapping a reporter, some things in his past. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our page and hit the bell, because we'll do future Q&As on this. You guys seem to like it, enjoy the Q&A. I hear some people trashing us for still talking about it. It's just an interesting concept, and it's interesting that this stuff happens in the world, and legally the rules apply differently to different people. That's all it is. We're just having a discussion. If somebody doesn't like it, that's fine. You don't have to stick around for it, but for those of you that do, we'll do future Q&As if it's what you guys are interested in, and you can let me know if you're interested in it by subscribing to the page, by jumping on our, you know, we have polls in the community. We ask questions about what people want to talk about, so you can let us know there if you subscribe and join the conversation. It was blocked from all USA shows, Crystal said. All right, a lot of the same things here. Not loving the apology. Yeah, Candy, I was way behind in the comments. I apologize. More comments than I can handle here today. Why would the police not press charges? They don't think it's worth it to spend tax dollars on it. And because he is who he is. I mean, honestly, there's no real other way around it. All right. I think we are going to call it here. Whew. Mr. Turn Up the Party, would he have slapped him if his wife wasn't there? I mean, I think we can say probably not, but I don't think there's really any way for us to know. All right. This was really fun. Thank you, everyone who came out to this impromptu Q&A. It was a lot of fun. We got a lot of things to discuss. We may do another one in the future if everybody is interested in it. Thanks for joining us again. Subscribe to our page if you haven't already. Like the video if you had fun during this live. Until next time, I'm out.